Stop. You haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now, let's go. I straighten my jacket collar and step onto the porch of my two-story home in a quiet Michigan neighborhood. I am Gerald, a man in his 50s with thinning hair and a history of working long hours as a pharmacist. My wife, Marina, is younger by 8 years. Many folks ask how we manage the age gap, and I usually shrug. Our difference never seemed enormous. She radiates energy, shares bright ideas, and once filled our house with a cheerful hum. That hum has grown silent. Sunlight drapes across the yard where dogwood trees line our path, and I pause to gather scattered mail. My eyes graze over coupons, announcements, nothing important. My right knee twinges, a reminder of last year's skiing accident. I brace against a slight ache but stroll inside, dropping envelopes on our wooden table. One corner of that table has a scratch from an old argument, a time when Marina and I disagreed over finances. In that heated moment, my fist slammed the table. We both said nothing afterward, though the scar remains, glaring at me from across the room. She is rummaging through a cupboard near the fridge, searching for sugar or cereal, or who understands what. Her dark hair swings over her shoulder. She turns, blinking. You headed out. Her voice quivers with mild tension, which stabs me right in the gut. We have not connected in weeks, except for stiff nods or polite requests. I'll work a half day, I say. Need anything? Her gaze flickers toward a chipped mug. She places it on the counter. Possibly I'll grab groceries later, she replies. Clients canceled sessions, so I'm free. She counsels private individuals on nutrition strategies. She once approached it with fresh passion. Posters, vitamins, recipes. Lately, she returns home late, claiming new appointments. My lips twitch, and I shift my weight. All right, I answer. I notice our sink piled with unwashed plates. We used to share tasks, but now chores seem divided by invisible lines. I step outside again, let the door shut behind me. My mind races. There is a hollow tension beneath our roof, and I suspect reasons beyond professional stress. She rarely touches me, rarely jokes the way she used to. We have endured arguments and silent treatments, but this wedge feels sharper. I climb into my compact sit-in and drive off, my thoughts swirling around the slightest changes in her tone, her laughter, her new perfume. She claims it arrived in the mail as a trial gift. My jaw sets. I pass pastel houses, neat lawns, cross one intersection, and see local shops open for business. The sight of that bright main street used to fill me with comfort. Now I fight the urge to pull over, bury my face in my hands, and forget everything. At the pharmacy, I greet a couple of my colleagues who wave from behind the counters. The store bustles. Customers pop in for prescriptions. I ring up vitamins, glance at the clock, shuffle receipts. My mind drifts back to Marina, remembering how she once stepped through these doors, wearing a lavender blouse and a teasing grin. She invited me for coffee that day, wanting to chat about some healthy diet concept. In those simpler times, I believed we had a bulletproof bond. Afternoon creeps forward. I handle a phone call from a manager, discussing inventory. My voice grows tense when I catch mention of the approaching 4th of July. That holiday looms in my mind because we plan a trip to her sister's place near Lake Orion. They usually host family gatherings, and Marina's old friend from high school, Ivan, often appears. He glides around with broad shoulders and a hearty laugh. She once teased me for feeling threatened by him. I never admitted that part of me worried about her warm attitude toward him. Memories swirl. Last summer we roamed that lake house, barbecued, sipped beer. Ivan cornered her in conversation a couple times, sharing jokes. I hovered across the patio, chuckling politely. She might have brushed it off, but something about their dynamic unsettled me. She and I argued on the drive home. I demanded reassurance. She insisted I was paranoid. By evening, I clock out and return to the house. She stands by the stove, stirring a pan with an uncertain expression. A swirling aroma of onions and peppers tries to coax me into relaxation, but I sense tension in her posture. I slip off my shoes and approach. "Smells good," I say. She nods. "Thought we could use a meal together." Steam curls around her hand as she stirs. She sets a plate on the counter and gestures for me to help myself. We eat in near silence at opposite ends of the dining table. She breaks the hush. "Your shift went all right." "Decent," I reply. "Seen any clients today?" She shrugs, then lifts her fork. "One canceled. Another wanted a phone consultation, so not much in-person work." I chew slowly, noticing how she fiddles with her ring, twisting it around her finger. My heart pounds as if warning me of something. That ring once symbolized unshakable devotion. Now it dangles, half loose. She stands and carries her plate to the sink. I trail behind. We linger near the window. She glances outside, saying nothing. Our silhouettes reflect off the glass, two separate shapes in dim light. I swallow my anxiety, give her shoulder a gentle brush with my palm, then move to the living room couch. The television flickers with local news, but I track none of it. My mind is stuck on her withdrawn manner. A week slides by. The holiday approaches. She drives us to her sister's place. I shift in the passenger seat, glimpsing farmland and clusters of trees. I rub my knuckles, uncertain how to speak to her. She rarely initiates conversation. Eventually she remarks, "We'll see who shows up." Probably the usual crowd. She tries a small laugh, which dies in her throat. We arrive at a modest cottage near Lake Oran. Wooden steps lead to a porch stacked with folding chairs. Her sister, Pauline, hustles out with a wide grin. Pauline has a cheerful nature, always fussing over small details. She kisses Marina on the cheek, greets me with a warm pat on the shoulder. We drop off bags in the guest room, where lacy curtains frame a glint of water outside. I breathe in the earthy smell of the old place, a mixture of cedar and lingering bug spray. My stomach knots, anticipating an uncomfortable weekend. Marina stacks her clothing on a chair, rummages for her toothbrush. She places it near the bathroom sink, refusing to meet my gaze. Voices rise outside. Pauline shouts, "Dinner in an hour." People settle at a long picnic table, giggling over cold lemonade. I spy Ivan approaching with a grin, stepping around a cooler full of soda. His short, dark hair is neatly trimmed. He calls out to Marina, who rushes over, arms half extended. They exchange a quick hug while I remain behind them. I grit my teeth, unsure how to greet him. He glances my way, offers a quick wave, and continues speaking to her. Their laughter floats through the air. I inch near the cooler, rummage for a bottled water. My eyes dart around. The lake shimmers under late afternoon sun. A few kids splash near the shore. Pauline yells for them to stay close. Marina and Ivan's conversation trickles over my shoulder. She mentions her nutrition clients, tosses in some anecdote about a new supplement. He leans in, eyebrows raised, evidently fascinated. My pulse jumps. I force myself to breathe, to stand near them with casual interest. He meets my stare once or twice, and I attempt a polite nod, but frustration seeps into my gut. Evening arrives, and Pauline lights a few citronella candles to ward away insects. We gather around a weathered table, enjoying grilled chicken, potato salad, and corn on the cob. Ivan sits next to Marina, while I perch on her other side. He cracks jokes about old high school teachers, prompting her to hide a grin behind her napkin. I scrape my plate, listening more than speaking. My appetite vanishes quickly. Marina eventually drifts inside, perhaps to wash her plate. I take a moment to approach Ivan. He lifts his eyebrows. "How's work?" he asks with an easy tone. "Busy," I respond, clearing my throat. Pharmacy duties never slow down. He nods. Marina's still building her practice. I keep my voice neutral. She does well enough. He sips from a plastic cup, glances toward the house. "Good for her," We never talked much before, you and me. I shrug. Circumstances never required it. He runs a hand across the tabletop. I admire her dedication. She always had ambition. Tightness clings to my chest. I push out a curt reply. Yes, she's driven. He tilts his cup, draining the final drops. I step aside, uncertain how to continue, but sure I dislike his interest in my wife. Pauline beckons us for board games, so we shuffle into the living room. A battered Monopoly box lands on the coffee table. People settle in, picking game pieces, rolling dice, swapping lighthearted insults about rent and property deals. Marina sits across from me, twirling a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Ivan positions himself next to her, leaning close when offering advice on which properties to buy. I keep my lips pressed together. Hours pass. Pauline announces bedtime for the little ones, while the adults remain, discussing politics and complaining about news. My attention drifts to Marina and Ivan. They share quiet words, eyes gleaming with amusement. My frustration mounts. By midnight, people yawn, fold the board game, scatter to their rooms. Marina slinks off to the guest room. I follow, determined to address our tension, but find her already under the sheets, eyes shut. The slight scent of her hair drifts up. I remove my clothes carefully, slip in. She remains stiff, angled away. My chest tightens, yet I remain silent. We might as well be strangers in this bed. Next morning, sunlight seeps through the curtains. I open my eyes to see she has vanished. I shower quickly, hurry outside. Pauline announces a plan. Folks will gather near the pier for fishing or kayaking. Ivan strolls along the path, calling to Marina, who stands barefoot near the water. I notice her laugh at something he says. My stomach churns. Pauline tries to chat with me about recipes, but my mind is locked on those two silhouettes near the lake. A few hours later, the group starts a barbecue. Hot dogs sizzle on the grill. Music plays from a small speaker. Ivan suggests an evening swim once the sun dips. My wife brightens at the idea. The temperature remains high, so a dip in the lake appeals to many. Pauline states she wants to watch the kids. Others mention they might skip it. I sense alarm. My instincts caution me about letting Marina share a lakeside swim with him. I stand near the grill, biting my tongue. Dusk arrives, painting the sky with streaks of orange. Ivan strips to swim trunks, revealing a muscular torso. Marina wears a modest one-piece. She glances my way, says, "Come along." Water is perfect. I stare at the restless surface of the lake, stepping closer. An odd tension keeps me from removing my shirt. Instead, I claim I will join them soon. She nods, wades in with Ivan. He splashes her, she splashes him back. They share light banter that drifts to shore. My hands clench. Darkness creeps over the yard. Strings of outdoor lights flicker around the porch. I notice Pauline rounding up the children for bedtime. Voices grow quiet. The water glints with moonlight. At some point, I see Marina and Ivan drifting farther along a small cove hidden by reeds. That triggers my pulse to spike. Anger flares. I yank off my shoes, stride toward the waterline, anxious for a confrontation, or at least an explanation. Then I spot them returning. They walk up from the shore, panting, water droplets trailing along their arms and legs. Marina's eyes shift to me. She stands near a small bonfire, rubs her arms. "Gerald, are you going in?" I cross them, swallow hard. I might pass. I manage. Ivan chuckles, grabs a towel from a chair, and begins drying himself. Marina does the same, avoiding my gaze. After a brief silence, she whispers something about changing clothes, then disappears inside. Ivan lingers, feeding another log to the fire. Sparks flutter upward. When I step indoors, the hallway is dim. I notice Marina's wet swimsuit draped over a chair in the bathroom. A faint hint of lavender soap drifts from behind the closed door. I rap on it lightly. She cracks it open, hair damp, eyes downcast, her lips pressed together. I see a flush on her cheeks. I start to speak, but she shakes her head, scoots around me, and hurries into our guest room. Shutting the door behind her, she leaves me in the corridor, fists trembling at my sides. Morning arrives, bringing an uncomfortable hush. We finish breakfast with Pauline and wave goodbye, claiming we must head home. Pauline arches an eyebrow, but she refrains from prying. Marina and I load the trunk in tense silence, then drive away. The half-hour drive remains wordless. When we reach our house, she strides in quickly, heads upstairs. I linger by the living room window, pressing my palm against the glass. My heart pounds. Something irreversible weighs on me. I recall glimpsing them vanish behind those reeds last night. Possibilities swirl through my mind. She steps downstairs wearing fresh clothes, hair pulled back in a sloppy ponytail. I speak up, voice ragged. Marina, talk to me. She stiffens near the banister. Gerald, I'm exhausted. I muster courage. Is there something you need to tell me? My question is careful. Her eyes flicker, but she says nothing. My chest aches. We stand in a tense standoff, neither wanting to speak. Finally, she exhales, shoulders slumping. I'm going to visit a client tomorrow. I'd rather not argue. She leaves the house in a swirl of frustration. I sink onto the couch, bury my head in my hands, stifling a wave of panic. That evening, she returns late. She claims a busy schedule. I decide to investigate. I rummage for clues, check phone bills, observe vague messages from unknown numbers. One name appears multiple times. Ivan. A hush falls over me. My mind begs for denial. But there it is. Strange meeting times, repeated calls, texts. He resides 2 hours away, but apparently meets her in random spots. My stomach churns. Days pass. I corner her one afternoon in the kitchen. She stands near the sink, washing a glass. I step close, speak in a low tone. You've been talking to Ivan. She tenses. We're old friends. I grit my teeth, blood pounding in my ears. Old friends who call constantly. She sets the glass down, water dripping from her fingers. He's going through a tough divorce. Her voice shakes. I try to offer support. Rage seeps into my bones. Support? You two snuck away at the lake. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Her jaw tightens. He needed someone to listen. Don't turn it into something else. I clamp my mouth shut, worry swirling in my head, but words fail me. She storms out of the house. Hours later, she returns, eyes red. I keep my distance. 2 more weeks pass in a haze of half-truths and tension. She complains of fatigue, queasiness. One evening, I discover a pregnancy test in our bathroom trash. The result is positive. A jolt paralyzes me. We have not shared intimacy for weeks. My chest hammers with dread. I knock on our bedroom door. No response. I push it open. She sits on the bed, arms wrapped around her knees. Explain, I say, voice rough. She shuts her eyes. It's recent. I can't believe it myself. My entire world caves in. A primal need for answers grips me. We haven't. In a while. So what does that mean? She lifts her chin, tears forming. I'm not certain who the father is. Her voice cracks, and she lowers her gaze. I never intended this to happen. I pace, fists clenched. My breath rushes in ragged bursts. She remains silent, shoulders trembling. Fury and betrayal swirl in my thoughts. I keep imagining her in his arms, hearing her breathless sigh. I press a hand against the wall to steady myself. You lied, I mutter. All your late nights, your phone calls. You denied everything. She sniffles. It wasn't some plan. Ivan was lonely. I felt cornered in our marriage. It happened once. My vision blurs. I can't stand her voice, can't stand her excuses. I spin toward the door, slam it shut as I exit. She calls my name, but I descend the stairs, ignoring her pleas. My mind roars with an urge to punish both of them. This is no ordinary misstep. She has shattered our vows in the worst way. In the days that follow, I move into our guest room. I speak to her with curt sentences, refusing to engage in deeper conversations. She tries to talk about solutions. I plan a different response. I locate Ivan's number and call him early on a Saturday morning. My voice quakes with tightly controlled rage. He pauses, then answers. "Gerald, something wrong." "You could say that," I respond. "We need to meet." He tries to protest, but I push him to pick a spot near the outskirts of Detroit. A quiet diner. No crowd, minimal staff, perfect for a private confrontation. I drive there with a clenched jaw and shaking hands. He arrives, stands near the entrance wearing a plain jacket. His expression carries apprehension. We step inside, choose a booth away from prying eyes. My glare bores into him. He clears his throat. "Gerald, what's this about? You impregnated my wife." No sense tiptoeing around. I see color drain from his face. He glances around, lowers his voice. "I'm not sure that's confirmed." My voice rises. "She's pregnant. Our intimacy dried up long ago. Figure out the math." His hands grip the table edge. "I never wanted to hurt you." I nearly roar at his choice of words, but I contain it. The overhead light flickers, casting a bleak glow over our tense exchange. "How often?" I demand, eyes narrowing. He drops his gaze to the salt shaker. "We shared a moment at the lake." "That's it. What about your phone calls?" He swallows. "We vented about our situations." Hatred surges through my chest. I stand, leaning across the table, speaking in a low snarl. "You destroyed everything." He tries to stammer out apologies. I picture the moment they locked eyes, the hush of water around them, her sighing in his arms. A rush of adrenaline floods me. "Gerald, calm down," he begs. I throw some bills on the table, ignoring the half-hearted attempt from the waitress to greet us. My voice shakes. "I plan to rip your life apart. Stay away from me, from her, from everything we built." He stands as well, adopting the defensive posture. "We never intended this." I step closer, fists clenched, but I manage to keep from swinging. "Suffer the consequences," I hiss, marching out of the diner. His footsteps follow a moment, but I rush to my car and peel off. My heart pounds so hard that my vision blurs. My mind churns with vengeance. At home, I gather items that matter to me. Personal documents, valuables, pictures from my youth. I set them in a couple boxes. She prowls around, eyes wide. "Gerald, we need to talk about what happens next." I spin to face her, voice trembling with anger. "Next. I'll ruin him. I'll bury you both. This marriage is finished." I see her step toward me, hands trembling. She tries to stammer out words, but I silence her with a raised palm. "I plan to file for divorce as soon as possible." She exhales in a rush. "What about the baby?" I glare at her, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "He's responsible, not me." In the following days, I take strategic actions. I contact a legal consultant, one with a reputation for ruthless tactics in divorce proceedings. We assemble documents, gather bank statements, property records. She tries to approach me with pleas for reason, tears on her cheeks. My anger intensifies. Late at night, I send Ivan messages from a burner phone, feeding him paranoid threats, dropping hints that I might expose any dirty secrets from his workplace. I glean details from social media, discover he manages a financial office. I craft an anonymous tip about suspicious transactions, send it to his superiors. Then I watch the situation escalate. He calls Marina, begs her to make me stop. I overhear one of their frantic conversations on speaker. She says, "I have no way to control him." He curses under his breath. I smile coldly. Days later, he loses his position over the allegations of misconduct. I relish every second of it. Meanwhile, I accelerate the divorce filing. I shred any illusions that we might reconcile. My lawyer informs me that the process might take a few months. I push for an earlier hearing, citing emotional distress. infidelity, anything to fast-track the outcome. The house belongs to me, purchased long before we married. I plan to keep it and throw her out. She begs for time, claims she needs shelter. I turn a deaf ear, pointing out that her lover can house her. She rages, slams the door of our guest room. I sense her sobbing at night, but my anger towers above any sympathy. At one point, I confront her about medical appointments. She tries to mention a doctor's visit. I snap, I don't care. Your choices, your problem. She blurts out, I wanted your support. My pulse races, but I remain cold. You sacrifice that when you invited him into your body. Her face crumples. She escapes into the bathroom, locks the door. I sense her muffled crying, but I stride away. She calls Pauline to confide. Her sister begs me to reconsider, or at least remain calm. I refuse. Rage flows through me day and night. I fight off guilt, telling myself they deserve every ounce of punishment. At times, I recall the earliest days with Marina. Her shining smile. Our jokes while dancing in the kitchen. I bury those memories. The marriage we had is gone. A day arrives when a process server delivers the final notice for the hearing. I watch Marina sign it with trembling fingers, tears rolling down her cheeks. I cross my arms, face impassive. She tries once more. Gerald, this baby, it might not even be his. My laugh emerges harsh. We parted ways months ago, so skip the guesswork. She covers her mouth, sobbing softly. I pivot, heading upstairs without comforting her. As time grinds forward, I hear that Ivan sells his car to cover legal fees. A rumor circulates that his wife filed fresh claims against him too, spurred by my tip. Meanwhile, I finalize the divorce. My legal counsel assures me I will keep the house. Marina begs for a small settlement to cover her living expenses. I concede the bare minimum. She searches for a new place, rummages for boxes to pack her possessions. I watch from across the living room, arms folded, expression unreadable. She glances at me, sorrow in her eyes. I stand unmoving. The day she leaves, the air crackles with tension. She gathers clothes, small decor items, a few keepsakes from her family. She attempts to hug me, to speak. My entire body stiffens. I step aside, letting her pass. She hesitates by the door. I never imagined our life would fall apart like this. I remain stone-faced. You made your choice. She slips out into the bright afternoon. The door closes, leaving me in the quiet hush of a half-empty house. For a moment, I remain frozen, anger still simmering, heartbreak hidden beneath. Then I walk upstairs, pushing open the door of our, now my, bedroom. That scratch on the wooden table in the dining room, the ring she left on the nightstand, the echo of her voice in the hallway. It all merges into one memory. Something breaks inside me. Weeks pass. Paperwork finalizes. Ivan tries to call me once, possibly to beg forgiveness or insist on some resolution. I delete the voicemail. My vengeance left him jobless, his reputation trashed. Marina has vanished into her own world, carrying a child that might be his. My lawyer calls to confirm the settlement. I sign documents, sealing the end of this chapter. The house belongs to me alone. I vow to sell it, eventually. For now, I wander empty rooms, each corner a reminder of what once existed. I place the ring she abandoned on a mantel, next to a wedding photo. Our young colleagues sense something changed. A couple approach me with worried eyes, but I keep answers short. The house feels haunted by echoes of laughter that once warmed it. Now I see shadows of the past in every corner. One evening, after locking the front door, I drive out of town. My old Jeep rattles along the back roads. I end up by a small bridge overlooking the slow-moving river. Crickets chirp. I roll down the window, let night air brush my face. My stomach clenches, recalling her bright grin. A hollow space has replaced it. Yet inside me flickers a grim sense of triumph. I destroyed the man who touched my wife. I forced her away. I stand with no regrets, or so I tell myself. Days slide into weeks. Then a couple of months. Pauline calls once, whispering that Marina's health is stable, baby apparently doing fine. She tries to see if I might step in. I reply that I have no interest. Pauline sighs, ends the call. I resume my solitary routine. Some evenings, I prepare a single-portion dinner, watch an old black-and-white movie, and fall asleep on the couch. Her ghost lingers in the walls, in that scratch on the dining table, in the dusty perfume bottles she forgot to pack. My anger recedes slowly, replaced by a bitter acceptance. At a certain point, the lawyer finalizes every aspect of the divorce. I sign the last forms, glance at my reflection in the glass door of the courthouse, and see a worn man with shadows under his eyes. I press forward, stepping into the sunlight. A new life awaits, though it feels more like a desert than a bright new beginning. I drive home, rummage through the closet, find an old duffel bag. Without conscious thought, I pack clothes and possessions, load them into my Jeep. I lock the house and leave the keys with a neighbor, instructing her to call when a real estate agent arrives. I drive west, turning onto a highway with no set destination. I pass farmland, motels, lonely gas stations. My phone pings once, but I ignore it. The road stretches onward, empty and dark except for scattered headlights. Maybe I will settle in another city. Possibly I will try a different job. Uncertainty looms, yet nothing ties me to Michigan anymore. Nightfall drapes across the landscape. I park at a rest stop, switch off the engine. No messages wait for me. No frantic calls from Marina or from the man who shattered my world. Wind rattles the Jeep. I recline my seat, stare at the starless sky. An ache pulses in my chest, but I dismiss it. The memory of her betrayal, the memory of that lake house cove, the phone bills, the confrontation at the diner. Every piece slashes me inside. I tell myself I delivered justice. Morning arrives, pale light creeping over the rest stop. I drive onward, thinking of who I have become. My hair shows more gray. My eyes remain hollow in the rearview mirror. I grit my teeth, forging ahead. The sign indicates Chicago is a couple hours away. Why not go there and fade into the bustle of a big city? At an empty stretch of highway, I realize I hold nothing dear anymore. She carried my final illusions away when she surrendered to that other man's embrace. I sigh, pressing the gas pedal, pushing the Jeep faster. Scenes from our past flash through my mind. Her shining grin, our first kiss, that day we tossed confetti in the air at a friend's wedding. She trampled it underfoot, and I returned the blow by demolishing her life and his. I do not regret it. Or do I? The question remains buried, refusing to surface. I keep driving until the next sign announces a small city on the horizon. Maybe I will stop for a meal or rent a motel room. In the future, I might place the house on the market for a fair price and watch as strangers paint new colors over old memories. She will have a child fathered by a man who lost everything. It's a bleak equation, but it suits me. In the months ahead, maybe I will gather enough courage to start fresh. For now, I roam. That is my final state, gliding across highways, scanning for a place to rest. The voice in my head remains quiet. No tears, no pleas. My story turned into raw vengeance, severed from the warmth we once shared. I pray I don't cross paths with either of them again. One day, if time ever soothes my anger, I might reflect on those days and wonder whether I unleashed too much fury. But in this moment I cling to my choice, forging my lonely route forward, fueled by bitterness and that lingering sorrow only I can sense deep inside.